Hello and welcome back to day 4 of CADvent 2024. 24 days of designing festive items in Autodesk Fusion. In today's video, we are going to be designing a star for your tree. So a tree topper that you can 3D print and pop on your Christmas tree. So let's head into Fusion and get started. I'm going to start with a sketch on my XZ plane, and I'm going to use create and then polygon. I'm going to use this top option and click somewhere here above the origin. I want to use the tab on my keyboard to change this to 5, and then I'm going to place this out here. I'm then going to use the line tool to draw a star between these points here. And I'm basically going to use this hexagon to help me get that star shape. So we're going to do that there. And I'm then going to dimension from here to the bottom line as 2mm. And you'll see why we do this later on in the video. And then I'm going to go from the top of the hexagon down to here as 90mm. Now this is so that this will fit on my 3D printer, but if you have a bigger 3D printer, you can use a bigger size if you want to. Just scale it up for what will work for you. Now I added a horizontal constraint here to make sure my star is in this orientation, and I'm going to add a horizontal vertical constraint between that point and the origin to fully define my sketch. And this here is the basis for what we're going to use to create the tree topper. Finishing my sketch, I'm going to construct an offset plane, selecting one of the planes and dragging that out by 10mm. I'm then going to create a sketch on that plane and project through the middle point of that hexagon I used. So P on the keyboard is this shortcut for project. Grab that point and click OK. And that's all I need in that sketch. You can see that point is out here. I'm then going to use a loft. So create and then loft. And I'm going to select my star shape. So these profiles here. And then click the plus button here to select my second profile. And we can see there that projects through and we have this 3D star shape now. The next thing I'm going to do is to create a mirror. So I want to mirror the body in the plane here, and I want the operation to be joined to create one 3D object here. Next up, I'm going to create a sketch on the bottom plane of here. Going to do a circle, and this is going to be the bit that sits on the top of my tree. So you might need to go and measure the top of your tree. I know that this will work for mine. I'm going to use an offset, so modify an offset or O on the keyboard. And this one I'm going to do inwards, and I'm actually going to do this as a factor of my extrusion width on my 3D printer, which is 0.4, and I want to do that times 6. So that gives me a nice number of outlines there for my 3D printer. Finishing that sketch, I'm going to extrude this outer profile and drag that up to the part, but I want to join that there. So we're going to join that to the star, and then I'm going to extrude cut the center profile of that sketch. So viewing my sketch, and I want to drag that up by 35mm for this. So if you've changed the size of yours, you just need to drag it up to under the point there. I'm then going to add a chamfer on the inside of here so that it will 3D print. So modify and then chamfer, and add that in is a chamfer of 5mm there. And we can see here we have our star, which is starting to take shape. Now I've just realized I made a slight mistake in my first sketch. I wanted that distance to be underneath my origin point. So I'll just re-add in that distance there of 2mm. And this is so we can create a flat point from which we can 3D print the part without having to add support material. So I'm then going to, having modified that, we can see that these points of the stars are below the point of here. So I can modify and split body, selecting my star and then that bottom face there to cut through the part. This then means that we have 3 bodies, and I can delete the bodies I don't need and leave the one that I do need. And this gives us a small flat to print on our 3D printer there. Now, if you are going to 3D print this, depending on the printer you're using, it can often be very difficult to go to very sharp points. So you may want to modify this to make it a little bit easier to print. In order to do this, you can right click and go back to the original sketch. I'm going to create another polygon from the center point as I did last time, tab to set this to 5, and then I'm going to bring this out to up here, so directly above in sort of the opposite direction. I'm then going to dimension that at a distance of around 1 millimeter. You'll have to see what works best for your model. And I want that top line to have a horizontal and vertical constraint again. So that's just this one up here. And you see this is going to slightly chop off the edges. I'm then going to use another split body. So modify and split body. I'll select that. I then need to show that first sketch. And I want to select that outer hexagon to split the body. Clicking OK, we'll then see we have a number of bodies. So I just want to hide the ones that I don't need and hide that original sketch there. And that gives us a nice point. Rather than a very sharp point, it gives us a little flat to work to with the 3D printer. The final thing I'm going to do, just to make it a bit easier to put on the tree, is add a chamfer to this edge here of 1 millimeter. Just makes it a little bit easier to pop on the tree. And that there is our star tree topper for the top of our Christmas tree. Again, we could apply an appearance. So A on the keyboard for this. So we could do a silver. So we could do a silver, so silver satin looks very shiny, so does silver polished. Adding that in, doesn't really show too much in here, but if you did go into the render workspace, we can see that we have a lovely polished, shiny silver tree topper for your tree. So all that's left to do now is save your STLs, pop them in your preferred slicer, and hit print on your 3D printer. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments. And do let me know what you'd like me to do for the rest of CADvent 2024. I'll see you in the next video.